So here we go. For those of you watching this video, hi, we're going to do FRQs today. Oh, my computer might not be able to handle presenting and having people and then recording. This is going to be interesting. This might not work. Oh, but let's try. So this might not be your first FRQ because we've done FRQs before, but this is going to give you a lot of really good information and a lot of tips and tricks and everything like that. Right? So if you have a phone out and you're doing stuff, just put it away because you need to pay attention. So for the AP exam, there are 3 FRQs. Right? It's 80 questions, multiple choice, and then 3 free response questions. The 3 free response questions are design an experiment, which we're going to do a whole other day on, analyze a problem and propose a solution to that problem, and analyze a problem, propose a solution to that problem using calculations. Okay, sorry, my computer was very laggy. It seems that now I'm presenting to you guys at home. All right, so you get an hour and 10 minutes or 70 minutes for each one of the 3 FRQs. So that comes out to about 23 minutes per question, and you can use a calculator. For function, graphing, scientific, all of those are acceptable. And here's the other thing, on every single part of the AP exam, there's no penalty for wrong answers. Answer everything, guess. You have 10 minutes left and 25 questions, which I hope doesn't happen to anyone. Fill them all in. Do a straight shot A, straight shot B, straight shot C, do random ones. I don't care. Fill them in. Okay. You can only gain points from answering questions. Same with the FRQs. They're out of a certain number of points, and we don't know what that's going to be this year, but in the past it's been 10 years. But with the new exam format this year, that has nothing to do with COVID. They used to be 10 points. If you wrote something and it was wrong, you didn't get points off. You just didn't get the points for that. Okay. And then guess if you don't know. So this is what you guys had for your do now about an offshore wind project, and it asked you an A, describe, a B, identify and describe, and D and C, a describe. Okay. This wasn't the whole FRQ. This was the whole FRQ. They typically have 5, 6, 7, 8 parts to them. And here's the thing is you don't have to, if you don't answer A, B, and C, you just do D. You do whatever it is that you can. You know, we're hoping that everyone does all parts and all sections and everything like that. But if you don't, you don't. Okay, you can gain points in a lot of different spots. So the math. If you notice for the question here, A, calculate how much electricity in megawatt hours the wind project needs. Customers in the service pay this much, calculate. Assuming the turbines are all operating, calculate. Okay, well, maybe the thing is maybe I know how to do this section, or I don't know how to do D, but I know how to do E. I just don't have the number from D. So with the math, you need to show all your work. If you have simple addition, subtraction, division, multiplication, you can do in your head, great. Show all the steps. Okay, you guys especially this year will have calculators. It doesn't matter. How do I know as a reader that you have not just copied the answer from your neighbor or just plugged in random numbers into your computer? You need to show all work. And all of that work, like in those equations, all those numbers, they also need to have units next to them. No naked numbers. Really easy way to either gain points or lose points is not to put your units, not to set up your equation, not to show your work. Show your work, show all of your work, show all of the steps, put units next to every single number that you can. All right. No work, no credit. If it asks for a percent, you must show that you multiplied by 100. Literally, right, x 100. Okay. So If you're like, no big deal, that could be a point that you missed. Every single point counts. So if we have question A, B, and C, okay, so A is your question, B is your question using the answer from part A, and C is your question using the answer from part B. There are a lot of questions, math questions, that build on each other in the AP exam. But the thing is here, you can get points for part B and C. All right. So, for example, if you don't know A, but you know how to do B, choose a random number for A and literally physically write A dot 100 grams. Arbitrary number that you have chosen. Make it an easy one, 10, 100, not 77. Okay? So then for B, you put your math, your numbers, your units here, whatever it is you have to do to set up that part B, plus 100 grams from part A. Okay? And you're going to get an incorrect answer that is properly set up. So you will get the points for having it properly set up. You will get the points for having a correct answer with the units that you put in there, because you put 100 grams for A. You won't get any points for A, but you will get full credit for B. So please don't get frustrated with the math. There are a lot of little things you can snag here and there when you have no clue how to do a free response question. Okay. So when you get this exam, you have 23 minutes about for each of these questions. You want to not do what you're used to doing. For what I see is I see you guys reading the question and writing your answer. What I want you guys to do is I want you guys to think. So what you're going to do is you're going to read it section by section. You read A, and immediately as the thoughts come to your head, you're going to jot little notes down. All right? And then that's your preparing, think, outline. Then you're going to write your actual answer, and you need to proofread. Please, 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 please proofread. Okay? How many times have you done something and then gone back like the next day and read it and been like, what are these words even? Like, what was I don't even know what I'm trying to say. All right. So a lot of times students, so you guys like, yeah, a lot of times students will talk to their point. So it's like discuss the connection between whatever. And you'll be talking and you're like, this person has no clue. And then it clicks and they make the point. You don't want to do that because it wastes time. Okay? And it wastes energy. And honestly, the AP readers, be nice to us. Clear, concise information that's to the point. Right? We don't need you restating it. We don't need an introductory paragraph, no conclusions, just write the answer. All right. So read the question, underline the task, describe, list, identify. Those words are bolded for you. All right. Think about it for a second. And then what you're going to do is jot down some ideas, some notes, some words, not even in the area that you write with. In the FRQ itself, I don't have one in front of me. What I do is write down in the margins on top of the question to the side my first thoughts. Go on to the next one. Do that same thing. First thoughts, some keywords, maybe, because a lot of the times you're not fully reading through all of the questions because your brain is still thinking about another idea for A. Whereas if that idea pops into your head, if you write it down, you can focus on B. And then even sometimes C, D, E, you get down to the bottom. Maybe in the bottom, there's some more ideas. If you're not a math person, okay, skip the math. If math freaks you out, which I see a lot in this class, they're like, oh, well, I'm not a math person. Skip it. Do everything else and then come back to the math at the end. Do not waste your time stressing yourself out to try to figure out the math or something else. If there's something you're like, oh my God, I have no clue what this is, skip it, skip it, skip it, and go back to it. Okay, this is for the FRQs, and this is for in person. You can do that at home. You can't go back to it. All right. So some of these terms define. I like this because it gives you some concrete ideas. Give a definition, one sentence. Identify or provide. That is simple, straightforward. Same thing with like list. Give a definition or make a statement answering the question. One sentence, that's it. Describe. Make a statement and then give some sort of an example. That's what we don't see a lot in describe. People just like do one thing. Well, this is what it is. No, you want to say this is what it is and how it works, or an example of, or how it's made, or how it's disposed of, or what it causes. Okay. Explain or discuss is making connections. So A happens, it leads to B, this causes C, so A and B have this. This is a relationship or a connection. So 2 to 3 sentences, this is going to be your longer stuff. Explain, discuss. Some other key terms, natural capital. Remember, our resources produced by the earth, your air, your soil, your water. Natural income is money derived from humans. This is your economic, your money from timber and fishing. Environmental and ecological benefits. This is not humans, like trees provide oxygens to animals. These are old. Make sure that you review the 4 ecosystem services. Those were new for me this year, and I can't pull them off the top of my head right now, not gonna lie. So ecosystem services from environmental economics, like forests providing medicines, timber, clean water, fisheries, and stuff like that. And then your economic is ecotourism, money related. It's going to increase jobs. It's going to decrease jobs. It's going to bring more tourists into the area that spend money on hotels and restaurants and stuff like that. Or it's going to keep the tourists away, which then we're not going to have all the money being spent on jobs and tourism and stuff like that. All right. Also, what I need to tell you guys is I'm going to make a one-pager for the review, and every single day I'm going to put all of the links onto it. So you guys will have this PowerPoint to go back to. All right, I'm going to do that when you guys leave today. And then always make sure to show the direction of change. This increased, this declined, it decreased. It's not just enough to say in a question that, oh, well, the population changed. Well, how? The population increased, the population decreased. Be specific. And that's the biggest issue that we see with FRQs is people not being specific enough. It's like, okay, great, but anybody could have said that. So I love this. 10 reasons students are losing points, being vague. Pollution, natural disasters, destruction, lung irritation, it's toxic, it contaminates. How? How? Okay. Imagine Leo is sitting there next to you while you're taking your AP exam. Okay. And he is asking, but why? Well, but why? The kid wanted to know how potholes formed a couple weeks ago. So we went through frost heaving and that ice gets bigger when it freezes, or water gets bigger when it freezes into ice. You know, think about him being next to you going, well, why? Why, mommy? Why does that happen? All right. Don't restate the question. Nobody cares. I'm sorry if that hurts somebody's feelings. We do not care about restating the question. We've read it literally 1,000 times before we get to your paper to grade it. We know what the question is asking. Just answer it. Okay? Unreasonable solutions. Ban fishing altogether. Ban it all everywhere, which doesn't really work. Okay? Reasonable solutions, as much as we want to say, okay, we need to save the earth, so we're banning fossil fuels. That's not realistic. Solutions need to be realistic. All right, and we're going to go over the whole solutions to things. I'm going to give you guys lots of examples, and we're going to go over the scientific method in designing an experiment. So don't worry. Oversimplifying and leaving out the steps. You guys know the steps of eutrophication. Okay, the foot bone's connected to the leg bone's connected to the, whatever it is. It's really the tarsals and the ulna and things like that. But you need to make sure you're connecting. So in eutrophication, if you're leaving off with one thing, you need to start your next sentence with that thing and what's happening. This is done a lot with eutrophication, and it's done with generating electricity. Well, steam turns the turbine. Yeah, but where does the steam come from? You need to make sure that you're listing all the steps. Again, not identifying the direction, like an increase or decrease, stating only one reason when the question asks for two. Also, my personal favorite is when it says, give me 2 examples, and somebody lists like 5 examples. We're only looking at the first 2. If your first 2 are right, we're still going to look at your other ones. Okay? If one of your other ones contradicts one of the answers that you got right, you lose your point. So don't bother listing more than what it's asking for. It says give one example, give one example. If you're writing and you're like, oh, but this one's better, cross out your first one. Okay? Because if you have the right answer, but you said the wrong answer first, but then you have this beautiful right answer, it doesn't matter. You don't get points for it because you put it second. We only asked for 1. If we ask for 2 things and your first one is wrong and your second one is right, you still get a point for that. Right? Confusing. The first FRQ that we did was I had you guys write down environmental or cultural, environmental, economic, and cultural. Okay, ecological and environmental we jam together. Economic is money, jobs. Environmental, effect on animals and plants. Ecological is interactions of organisms. Bless you. Okay, environmental and cultural. If you identify when you should be describing, you're not giving enough information. And here, the electricity production, like I said. All right, so here are confusing words. Confusing something like a barrier island versus a barrier reef. A barrier reef is a coral reef. A barrier island is like Island Beach State Park. Global versus local effects. Permafrost versus sea ice. Sea ice is literally the Arctic. It's floating over the ocean, whereas permafrost is the frozen soil. Biomagnification versus accumulation. Ecosystem services versus ecosystem functions. Biodiversity versus genetic diversity. Climate change versus ozone depletion, which nobody in here should make that mistake, because hopefully I've drilled that into your heads. Urbanization, moving into the cities. Urban sprawls is vomiting out of the cities, which is exactly what we are, all of in Monmouth County. Population size versus density. And then another one of my personal favorites, water pollution from fertilizer versus water pollution from pesticides. Fertilizers make plants grow. Pesticides kill pests. Very, very different. Okay. So when you are writing, write in blue or black ink. Write in complete sentences. Don't give an introductory paragraph. Don't give a concluding paragraph. Don't rephrase everything for just to make it sound nice. No frills, no poetry, no cutesy ideas. Okay? Just write your answer and make it sound scientific. Use specific environmental vocabulary. Avoid all that gobbledygook. You guys did vocab. Use it. And no matter how difficult the question is, think of something to write. Okay? You guys know enough that you can throw out some terms, you can give some information, you can BS your way through it and get some points. Okay? I have faith. You guys do it every day on assignments. So, avoid all of these statements. Bad for the environment. Okay, really? But what specifically? This is AP environmental science, not 4th grade, science class. Cause environmental degradation. How? Cause global warming and pollution. Okay, well, global warming and pollution are completely different. Change, you need to specify the increase or decrease. Destroy, disrupt, disturb the environment. Eco-friendly, good for the environment. Good solution, global catastrophe, harming the environment. Not specific, harmful or dangerous chemicals, okay? But what's the chemical or what makes it harmful or dangerous? Oh, look, see, it's duped. Kill all the plants, animals, and wildlife. Is it really going to kill everything? Make it illegal? Or the water law? Some of my favorite answers to date are like the law that protects bald eagles. I know it's the Endangered Species Act, but they don't know it's the Endangered Species Act. They know there's a law that protects eagles. They know that eagles are in danger, and you know, it's the Endangered Species Act, the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act. They're not super complicated. There are only, I think, 11 or 12 of them that you need to know. You guys did that assignment. Making it more or less expensive. No, talk about subsidies, talk about incentives, talk about taxing things, talk about tax breaks on things, okay? Restore the environment, repair the damage, save the earth through the planet. These are all giant, vague statements. Tell me how. Okay? And don't be offended when I say this, please, but I find that more and more I'm seeing high school kids with like these big ideas. Well, I want to do this. And I'm like, all right, well, how are you going to do it? And they're like, well, I didn't get to that part yet. It's like, all right, we'll hash out some details and then we can talk. And it's that whole I want to do this, but how do I get there? And that's what we're doing here. It's the how are you going to get there that you need to explain. Right? Stop global warming, sustainable, help keep the habitat cleaner, stop global warming. I love that one. Well, how are you going to do it? Because please enlighten us with your information. We can use as much help as we can get. Please tell us how to do it. So other things to consider if a fourth grader could say it, it's too vague. Literally, Leo next to you going, but why, but why, but why? And he's not even in kindergarten yet. Be careful with absolutes. Will it really kill all the animals? Will the entire ecosystem be harmed? So you're probably going to be a bit specific. If you find yourself, you've gone through and you can recognize that it's too vague, throw in an example, a specific species, a possible loss, throw in another detail. Okay? And if you're making it up, make it sound good. Be confident. Don't be like, well, I don't really know, but here's an answer. No, you go in there with confidence and you write down this. And even if it's completely wrong, at least you tried. All right, so then you're going to take about 18 or 19 minutes, write your answers, and then make sure you proofread. We don't care about complete sentences, capital letters, period, your grammar, your spelling. It's all atrocious. Okay, but go through and proofread. Can somebody who knows absolutely nothing about environmental science, who's just looking at the rubric, grade your sample? You are going to you're going to answer this question like you're explaining it to someone who has no clue anything about environmental science, no less AP environmental science. Okay. Add a word, another example, increase the value if it's too vague and you're like, oh, this isn't great. If you have time, cross it out and rewrite it. Don't cross anything out until you've rewritten stuff though, because we will not read stuff that is crossed out. All right. No whiteout, no scribbling things hardcore. Don't worry about any of that stuff. Just cross it out. 1 or 2 lines. We don't count. If it's crossed out, we do. And it's tragic because if a student has a good answer and they cross it out and they write the wrong thing, we can't give them points for something that they crossed out. We're very strict with things, as we should be. All right. So it's really, really important to kind of have a little bit more of an understanding about these. All right. So what you're going to do now is I'm going to give you guys a short assignment with like 6 questions, maybe it is. And they are statements from AP questions. And what you're going to do is you are going to strengthen those answers. Okay. So the goal is to then take, the next time I see you, what I'm going to do is we're going to take your answers that you wrote in the beginning of the class for the do now. And you guys are going to see if you can strengthen them, okay, based on what you learned today. And then you're going to take a look at the rubric and you're going to honestly score yourself with them. And we're going to talk about specific answers. Okay? So I'm going to stop this recording if I can.